Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. Editing me popping in here, I just wanted to quickly address some things. So you'll see throughout the video that I am mic'd up because I was trying to be a proper YouTuber and shit and give you guys high quality audio. And of course, I flopped. It did not work out that way. I actually got that mic off of Amazon for like $20. And it shows. I don't know what I was thinking when I purchased that. I thought that it was going to at least be a little bit more crisp, a little bit more elevated. I sound like I'm underwater. So I'm just going to forego that audio, and throughout the video, you're going to hear the audio that my camera picked up. And so I'm sorry if you hear any background noise, but it was either that or, again, me sounding like I was underwater. So I had to make an executive decision. I was trying to do my big one and, like I said, be a proper YouTuber, and you know, it didn't work out that way. So hopefully in the future I'll be able to get a better mic and it'll actually like help with my audio. But I'm gonna have to just continue to do what I do and, you know, go from there. So I just wanted to address that because you're going to see me throughout the video with this mic on looking stupid, knowing that there's not even any quality sound coming from it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So as you can see by the title of today's video, we are going to go over my June TBR. I am in a new location. I'm in a new background. I have officially moved into my new apartment because of certain circumstances. I'm actually going to be filming in this room, which is a room in my parents' house, my old room essentially, to transform into my library / filming setup. Now I don't live that far from my parents' house, which is why I'm able to do this. Either way, I'm just still really excited and really happy that I'll be able to transform this entire room into my library. You guys have heard me say multiple times that I want all of these bookshelves so that way I can just like kind of have them all lined up and look like an actual library. So the fact that that's actually going to happen this summer just makes me so excited. I will take you guys along that journey of me decorating and putting the space together when that time comes. I'm still trying to work out some things and figure out where everything is going to go. So please bear with me. But right now, this is going to be the setup. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the books that I'm hoping to read for June. Now, I don't have physical copies for any of these books with the exception of 2, but unfortunately, I did leave them at my apartment because they are packed away somewhere. So I am going to pop up a picture of all of the books that I plan to read for this month on the screen over here or over here, whichever one. But I'm really sorry that I don't have any physical copies. I know that that's like one of the best things about watching book videos is seeing the actual book in the booktuber's hand. We're still unpacking. So I'm hoping that by the next couple of videos, I will be back on track. But I am going to have to hold my phone so that way I can actually see all of the books that I plan on reading for the month, as well as just making sure that I speak correctly to the synopsis. So the first book that I hope to read in the month of June is Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. So this is actually the second book in Tessa Bailey's new series called A Vine Mess, with the first book being Secretly Yours. And that story actually follows Julian and Haley. I read that book back in April. Now, I didn't give my full in-depth thoughts on that book in a wrap-up because I didn't read that many books in April, so I wanted to include Secretly Yours in my May wrap-up. So definitely make sure you subscribe and turn on those post notifications so that way you're notified when I do drop that video. But I will just say right off the bat that I did enjoy Secretly Yours. I was one of the few that actually did like it and give it a highish rating. And I understand people's critiques on the book, but I feel like Tessa Bailey is one of those authors that is just hit or miss for a lot of people. But she's a hit for me. I knew once I finished that book that I was going to want to read this book immediately right after, and I'm so happy that this book is coming out soon. It will be publishing on June 6th, so we are almost there, but I'm really excited to dive into this one, like I said, because this one actually follows an enemies to lovers trope. I feel like Tessa Bailey does enemies to lovers so well. So the only things that I know about this story is that it follows 2 characters named Natalie and August. And so starting with Natalie is a Napa heiress of sorts, so I think her family owns a winery business, so she's really rich. And then on the flip side of that, you have her love interest named August, and August also owns his own winery. There is a different reason as to why August owns this winery that I'm not going to get into, but just know that he is running his own business. Going back to Natalie, like I said, she is an heiress, so she does have a trust fund set up for her, but in order for her to get this trust fund, she has to marry someone. And I don't think that there's anyone that will work for this marriage of convenience in Natalie's eyes except for August. Like I mentioned earlier, this is an enemies to lovers story, so August and Natalie do not get along, but I'm assuming Natalie convinces August to go along with this marriage of convenience, and as the story progresses, these feelings start to turn real and the story takes off from there. Natalie and August actually made an appearance in Secretly Yours. You don't have to necessarily read it first. This is definitely going to be a book that I prioritize this month, and it's probably going to be one of the first books, if not the first book, that I read for June. The next book that I have here is Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. So this is a book that I actually have a physical copy of. I went to Target, I want to say maybe last week, and I picked this book up. But like I said, for some reason, because we're still in the process of unpacking, shocking, I misplaced this book, so I have no idea where it is now. But I do have this physically, and I will be reading this one very, very soon because this is actually one of my most anticipated thriller releases of 2023. I will leave that video linked up above just in case you haven't watched it. Local Woman Missing was one of those books that truly changed my life and truly changed my entire outlook on thrillers and what constitutes a really good thriller. And that book is a really good thriller. This story actually follows two couples, two close friends, and one missing husband. So right here it says, Jake Hayes is missing. This much is certain. At first, his wife Nina thinks he's blowing off steam at a friend's house after their heated fight the night before. But when a day goes by, 2 days, 5, and Jake is still nowhere to be found. Lily Scott, Nina's friend and coworker, thinks she may have been the last to see Jake before he went missing. After Lily confesses everything to her husband, Christian, the two decide that nobody can find out what happened leading up to Jake's disappearance, especially not Nina. But Nina is out there looking for her husband, and she won't stop until the truth is discovered. Also, this just sounds like this is going to be so good. You got that suburban domestic drama. You also just have this weird / unreliable dynamic between the main characters in the story. I just can't wait to see how this is all going to unravel because Mary Kubica's mind when it came to Local Woman Missing needs to be studied. I just feel like if she's coming with the same energy for this book, this is going to be a hit. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. This is rated a 3.56 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, which is honestly not that bad. She's almost at a 4-star, but compared to Local Woman Missing, I feel like that is not as high as I would have thought that this book would have been. So I'm curious to read this and see what I think about it. I have to look up Goodreads reviews after I read this to see why people did not like this book as much as I thought they would have. But either way, like I said, I'm still excited and I love the cover of this book too. So the next book that I have here is Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. So if you guys already couldn't tell by my little The Fine Print shrine over here, art print of Rowan and Zara, just sitting pretty. I am obsessed with the Dreamland Billionaire series, like grossly obsessed. After I finished the fine print, I knew that I was going to eat this series up. And that's exactly what I plan on doing this summer because I don't want this series to end because I love it so much. Terms and Conditions is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. And this story follows the oldest brother, Declan, and his love interest named Iris. So right here it says, Declan, I'm destined to become the next CEO of my family's media empire. The only problem? My grandfather's inheritance clause. Fulfilling his dying wish of getting married and having an heir seemed impossible until my assistant volunteers for the job. Our marriage was supposed to be the perfect solution to my biggest problem, but the more we act in love for the public, the more unsure I feel about our contract. Caring about Iris was never part of the deal, especially not when breaking her heart is inevitable. Iris. My plan to marry Declan was simple in theory. Move in together, throw a wedding, have a baby. We set rules to prevent any kinds of issues, ones that were never meant to be broken, no matter how much Declan tempts me. But what happens when our fake relationship bleeds into our real one? Falling in love was never an option, at least not for me. So I already have high hopes for this book just because I loved the fine print so much and I really loved Lauren Asher's writing and her storytelling. She's one of those authors that I could see myself really checking up on her works to see what's next. I know that she is the author of the F1 series. I probably will end up reading that, but that won't be until I finish the Dreamland Billionaire series for good. I'm really excited to dive into Terms and Conditions. I have heard most people say that their favorite book out of the series is the last book, which is Cal's story, and that's called Final Offer. Now I'm seeing a lot of people say that they actually do prefer Terms and Conditions over both the fine print and Final Offer. So I don't know, it's just conflicting information all around. I mean, reading is subjective at the end of the day, like I've already said multiple times on my channel, but regardless, I feel like both this book and Final Offer are gonna have a hard time knocking the fine print off of its throne because, baby, this is the one. This is the one that you need to tap into if you love a good grumpy sunshine romance, a workplace romance, also a little bit of enemies to lovers, and of course like billionaire. Like come on, this book has it all. It's gonna be really hard to knock this book off of the top spot, but we'll see. The next book that I like to read is Real by Kennedy Ryan. So I think that this is actually Kennedy Ryan's only standalone novel. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think this is her only standalone novel. I know that this is the novel that she recommends people to read first before they just jump into her series, just so that way you can get a feel for her writing and her topics that she explores in her books. This is one book that I just completely bypassed because I was so obsessed with sports romances when I read the Hoop series. I just automatically like defaulted and read that entire series. I still think it's fine to read if you haven't read Kennedy Ryan before, but I definitely understand why she would recommend this book because of it being a standalone, of course. Regardless, we're going to finally read it because I am trying to read all of Kennedy Ryan's books, so that way, one, I can have all of those books cross off of my TBR, but also two, I would like to film a video / a how-to guide to Kennedy Ryan and her books. So that video will be happening at some point, I just don't know when, but I am making my way through her work, which I'm really happy about. I am still really excited to read it nonetheless because this just sounds like this is going to be so cinematic, and you guys know that I say that about pretty much all of Kennedy Ryan's books. I just feel like like this is going to be the ultimate cinematic greatness when it comes to her work because of the fact that this takes place during the Harlem Renaissance, and this is of course set in the entertainment industry. The only other things that I know about this is that it follows two characters named Neva and Cannon, and Neva is the actress or the star of this whole production that Cannon, who is a film director, is putting together. This is another workplace romance where these two of course are keeping it professional, they're keeping it cute, you know, and Neva's doing her own thing, bringing this character that she is portraying to life, and Cannon of course is really doing his best, I think, to really show the world what he can do as a film director. But one thing leads to another, and Cannon and Neva start developing feelings for one another, and the story takes off from there. So I don't really want to know too much else, and I feel like with Kennedy Ryan's synopsises, you really can't know too much else because they are pretty vague, but that is the general idea of the story. And I just really can't wait to read this one. Like I said, I should have been read Real, y'all. I just bypassed it and went feral for the Hoop series. So I have to spin the block, I have to double back and read this book now and really tell you guys my thoughts on this. I have had a few people comment on my videos, I need to read Real. I am going to listen to this book on audio as well as read it at the same time, because everyone who has listened to this book on audio has said it is one of the best audiobooks that they have ever heard or listened to. I think Rachel from Ravenhair Reader actually listened to this via audio, and she was the one who said that. So Rachel, if that was you, hey girl. I think it was her who said that, so I definitely want to give the audiobook a try. And the next book that I have here is Trick Mirror, Reflections on Self-Delusion by Gia Tolentino. So this is a book that I have seen so much on Bookstagram and BookTok in particular, and this was really popular when this book first came out, and of course throughout I think like 2020, 2021, and I've always wanted to read it, but because of the topics explored in this book, I just knew if I would have picked this book up when I first started reading for fun again, I wouldn't have understood it, and it probably would have went over my head. Now that I found my footing and I know what books I like and what books I don't like, or at least I feel like I have a good grasp on that type of stuff, this is a book that I can finally pick up now and actually read it critically and understand it critically. So this is a nonfiction read. So what I gather from the synopsis is that this is a book that includes a lot of essays and notes from Gia Tolentino that pretty much just explores the relationship that we have with the internet as well as social media, and just the digital landscape overall and how it has changed so much since the inception of the internet, of course, but also just what it's done for our culture today. And I actually got the audiobook for this today and I started it and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only about 2 chapters in, but the topics that Gia Tolentino is exploring already in these first 2 chapters is really eye-opening and also just really relevant and timely. There's also going to be discussions on autonomy, but I just know that this is going to be one of those like enlightening, poignant reads, especially because I'm already in the social media space professionally and personally. So these type of topics really do speak to me, I feel like, on a different level. And the next book that I have here is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Everybody and their mother is reading Abby Jimenez's books and loving them. And of course, because like I already mentioned before, FOMO, I got it real bad. I wanted to finally pick this up and see what this book is all about, and to also see if Abby Jimenez is going to be an author that I resonate with the same way that a lot of other people do in the book community. I know that this is probably not her most popular book. I feel like a lot of people are really gravitating towards her newest release, which is called Yours Truly. I do not have that book. I don't have any of her other books. I only have Part of Your World because I picked this book up when I was at Target, and I picked this book up solely off of Gwen's recommendation. Gwen loves this book and she used to rave about it all of the time. I actually don't really know too much about this book, with the exception of this being a like rich girl, poor guy type of storyline, i.e. Part of Your World. Right here it says, after a wild bet, gourmet grilled cheese sandwich, and cuddle with a baby goat, Alexis Montgomery has had her world turned upside down. The cause? Daniel Grant, a ridiculously hot carpenter who's 10 years younger than her and as casual as they come, the complete opposite of sophisticated city girl Alexis, and yet their chemistry is undeniable. While her ultra-wealthy parents want her to carry on the family legacy of world-renowned surgeons, Alexis doesn't need glory or fame. She's fine with being a mere ER doctor, and every minute she spends with Daniel in the tight-knit town where he lives, she's discovering just what's really important. Yet letting their relationship become anything more than a short-term fling would mean turning her back on her family and giving up the opportunity to help thousands of people. Bringing Daniel into her world is impossible, and yet she can't just give up the joy she's found with him either. With so many differences between them, how can Alexis possibly choose between her world and his? This of course sounds like it's going to be really cute, but I feel like this is also going to have some substance to it too, just because Alexis and Daniel are going to be dealing with real world issues. I really hope that I enjoy this one. And the last 2 books that I have here are actually part of the same series. So you have the first book called Every Summer After, and you have the second book called Meet Me at the Lake. I am so late to this Carly Fortune wave, y'all, because I know that this book, at least Every Summer After came out, I think, what, last year or the year before. Everyone read it, gave it the reviews, and moved on. I was going to pick it up, and I honestly had no interest in picking it up at first, but I started to see it everywhere, and of course FOMO got to me, so I was like, all right, let me just pick up this little book and see what it's giving. And by the time I was going to do that, summer was already over, and I was on to fall reads. I decided to wait until this summer to pick up this book and see what it's all about. I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for me to pick up both books and give them a read. I know that there's a lot of polarizing reviews on this book, but I want to give this a try because this cover is so cute, so summery. It just seems like it's going to be one of those reads that I actually enjoy, but we'll see. Like I said, right here, the synopsis says, they say you can never go home again. And for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago, that has felt too true. Instead of glittering summers on the lake shore of her childhood, she spends them in a stylish apartment in the city, going out with friends and keeping everyone a safe distance from her heart. Until she receives the call that sends her racing back to Barry's Bay and into the orbit of Sam Florrick, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. For 6 summers, through hazy afternoons on the water and warm summer nights, working in his family's restaurant and curling up together with books, medical textbooks for him, and work-in-progress horror short stories for her, Percy and Sam had been inseparable. Eventually, that friendship turned into something breathtakingly more before it fell spectacularly apart. When Percy returns to the lake for Sam's mother's funeral, their connection is as undeniable as it had always been. But until Percy can confront the decisions she made and the years she spent punishing herself for them, they'll never know whether their love might be bigger than the biggest mistakes of their past. Told over the course of 6 years and 1 weekend, Every Summer After is a big, sweeping, nostalgic look at love and the people and choices that mark us forever. So I really hope that I enjoyed this book, y'all, because like I said, very controversial series. People either love them or hate them, so we'll see where I fall, but I'm really excited to read it nonetheless. And then the second book that we have here is Meet Me at the Lake, and this book is actually rated a little bit lower than Every Summer After. Meet Me at the Lake is sitting at 3.8 on Goodreads, while Every Summer After is sitting at 4.2. So not that much of a difference, but like it's a little noticeable. It's a little noticeable. And this is the book where I think a lot of people are really like going into discourse about for some reason. So I just want to see what all of the noise is about. Like that's really the reason why I'm reading this. Besides the fact that I think that it sounds good, I just want to know what the mess is. Like what's the mess? What's the tea? I don't know if the characters in here appear in Every Summer After, or if they're best friends or related to the main characters in that book. I'm not sure. But right here it says, Fern Brookbanks has wasted far too much of her adult life thinking about Will Baxter. She spent just 24 hours in her early 20s with the aggravatingly attractive, idealistic artist, a chance encounter that spiraled into a day-long adventure in Toronto. The timing was wrong, but their connection was undeniable. They shared every secret, every dream, and made a pact to meet 1 year later. Fern showed up. Will didn't. At 32, Fern's life doesn't look at all how she once imagined it would. Instead of living in the city, Fern's back home, running her mother's Muskoka lakeside resort, something she vowed never to do. The place is in disarray. Her ex-boyfriend's the manager, and Fern doesn't know where to begin.
Oh Lord.
To her surprise, it comes in the form of Will, who arrives 9 years too late, with a suitcase in tow and an offer to help on his lips. Will may be the only person who understands what Fern's going through, but how could she possibly trust this expensive suit-wearing mirage who seems nothing like the young man she met all those years ago? Will is hiding something, and Fern's not sure she wants to know what it is. But 10 years ago, Will Baxter rescued Fern. Can she do the same for him? Y'all, these synopses sound good. All right, y'all, and those are all of the books that I had to share with you today. Like I mentioned earlier, there probably will be April and May reads that sneak their way onto my June TBR. And for the upcoming months, I did not want to talk about those books again. I did just want to shine a spotlight on the summery books because that is the season that we're about to be in. And that is my favorite season, like I mentioned 100 times. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me and my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!